In the cold, desolate expanse of Nevada's desert, a brilliant flash tore through the night sky. To the few who witnessed it, it seemed like nothing more than a meteor, a common enough sight on clear nights. But this was no ordinary celestial visitor. Dr. Elias Vaugh, a leading scientist stationed at a nearby military research base, stared at the monitors, unease tightening his chest. Whatever had just entered Earth's atmosphere wasn't natural. "General Flynn, you'll want to see this," he muttered, his voice barely above a whisper. Within minutes, the Situation Room was abuzz with activity as Flynn, Vaugh, and their team watched the live feed from drones circling the crash site. A massive ship, glistening with unknown metals, lay half buried in the sand. The alien craft was unlike anything humanity had seen before, even in their cautious forays into the stars. "This can't be good," Flynn muttered. His eyes scanned the feed, looking for signs of movement. "Get a team out there now. If they're hostile, we need to be prepared." Dr. Vaugh adjusted his glasses, his mind racing. The Zarox Empire, a name whispered in classified briefings, mentioned in hushed tones among those few aware of alien life. They had been watching Earth for years, but the day had finally come when they made their move. Captain Nathan Reyes stood on the bridge of the USS Horizon, staring into the void. The stars glittered, indifferent to the struggles of the beings they oversaw. Nathan had always found peace in their stillness, but today, an uncomfortable tension hung in the air. "We've got something," came the voice of Zoe, the chief science officer, over the comm. "You'll want to see this, Captain." Nathan hurried to the lab, where the team gathered around a live feed. On the surface of Draxon, a planet they had surveyed for colonization, something stirred. A creature, its form shimmering with every color of the spectrum, lay limping in the dense alien foliage. Sentient, Nathan asked. "Possibly. But this is different," Zoe said, her voice a mixture of awe and concern. "We've never seen anything like it." "Bring it aboard," Nathan ordered. Every instinct screamed caution, but curiosity won out. This creature might hold answers to questions they hadn't even thought to ask yet, and in these uncertain times, information was more valuable than gold. As the retrieval team brought the creature aboard, Nathan could sense something greater at play. This wasn't just a routine encounter, it was the beginning of something much bigger. Days passed since the initial crash in Nevada, and the world was teetering on the edge of panic. Reports flooded in from across the globe, strange lights in the sky, unexplained electrical disruptions, whispers of alien invasions. The Zarox Empire had made its intentions clear. Earth was to be absorbed into their dominion, or face annihilation. In response, humanity united in a way that had not been seen in centuries. The Global Defense Initiative, formed under the leadership of General Flynn and Dr. Vaugh, was Earth's last hope. "We have one shot at this," Flynn declared during a high-security meeting. "We need to show them that Earth isn't some backwater, primitive world. We fight not just with weapons, but with our spirit." Across the globe, military bases roared to life. Soldiers from every nation prepared for battle, standing shoulder to shoulder with former enemies. Engineers worked around the clock to reverse engineer captured alien technology, hoping to level the playing field. The sky above Earth's largest spaceport was a blaze of fire. Captain Nathan Reyes, aboard the USS Horizon, watched as alien warships descended through the atmosphere like predatory birds. The Zarox fleet was immense, their war machines casting long shadows over the planet. "All ships, prepare to engage," Nathan's voice cut through the chaos on the comms. The Horizon surged forward, its cannons blazing. All around, Earth's hastily assembled fleet, old, repurposed vessels retrofitted with alien tech, fought back. Explosions rocked the heavens as fighters darted through the thick clouds of battle, weaving between Zarox cruisers. On the ground, Flynn led a coordinated defense. In the Nevada desert, tanks and infantry lined the barren landscape, waiting for the inevitable ground assault. He had always prided himself on being calm under pressure, but even he felt the weight of what was coming. The aliens landed in waves. Towering war machines, each the size of small buildings, stormed the Earth, tearing through the landscape with plasma and energy cannons. But the humans did not flee. "Hold the line," Captain Mark Briggs shouted, his voice cutting through the roar of battle. The soldiers stood firm, their faces resolute, their rifles spitting fire at the advancing alien forces. Private Jackson, a fresh recruit with shaking hands, fired at the nearest machine, aiming for its joints like he had been trained. The alien war machine stumbled, sparks flying from its crippled limbs. Good shot, Kid Sergeant Morales shouted, slapping Jackson on the back. As the ground shook beneath them, artillery from the rear lines pounded the alien invaders. Explosions lit up the night, and slowly, impossibly, the tide began to turn. In the skies above, Captain Nathan Reyes and the horizon fought valiantly. With every strike, every blow, humanity's resolve grew stronger. But the Zarox were relentless, their forces overwhelming. "We can't hold out much longer," Zoe shouted, her voice strained as the ship took a direct hit. Nathan clenched his jaw. They had come too far, fought too hard to lose now. He opened a channel to Flynn. "General, we need the planet's defense grid now." On the surface, Flynn nodded grimly. "We were saving it as a last resort, but you're right. Activate the grid." Across the globe, massive installations hidden in plain sight powered up. Energy shields shimmered into existence, protecting Earth's major cities from further bombardment. And then, from the deserts, mountains, and forests, massive ion cannons fired into the sky, ripping through the alien fleet. The Zarox fleet faltered. For the first time, they realized that humanity wasn't just surviving, they were fighting back. The battle raged for hours, but slowly the alien ships began to retreat. On the ground, the war machines stumbled and fell, one by one, as Earth's defenders pushed forward. In the aftermath, as the sun rose over the smoldering battlefields, humanity stood victorious. The cost had been great, but they had done the impossible. They had faced a superior alien force and won. Captain Nathan Reyes stood on the observation deck of the horizon, watching as the last of the Zarox fleet disappeared into the stars. He knew this wasn't the end. The Zarox would regroup, they would come back. But humanity had proven itself. They had fought for their home, and they had won. General Flynn stood at the ruins of the Nevada desert, staring at the wreckage of the Zarox machines. His face was grim, but there was a spark of hope in his eyes. "We're not done," he muttered. "But we've shown them that Earth is no easy target." As the world began to rebuild, the message was clear: Earth was not to be underestimated. They had stood on the brink of extinction and emerged stronger, and when the aliens returned, humanity would be ready. The world held its breath in the aftermath of the battle. In every major city, from the crumbling ruins of New York to the smoke-choked skies of Tokyo, people began to emerge from underground shelters, blinking at the daylight like newborns. Victory had come at a staggering cost. Billions of lives lost, cities leveled, entire regions reduced to ash. Yet humanity had endured. Captain Nathan Reyes sat alone in his quarters aboard the USS Horizon, the constant hum of the ship's engines a distant comfort. He stared at a screen displaying images from the surface streets strewn with debris, civilians huddled together under makeshift shelters, children clinging to their parents with hollow-eyed terror. The reports weren't much better: water supplies contaminated, hospitals overwhelmed, infrastructure destroyed. "We won the battle, but the war isn't over," Nathan whispered to himself. His door chimed softly before Zoe entered. The chief science officer looked as weary as he felt, her eyes red-rimmed from days without sleep. "Nathan, I've been running some scans," she began, dropping into a chair opposite him. "It's about the Zarox retreat." Nathan frowned. "Go on." They left. Too quickly, Zoe tapped her datapad, sending charts and readings to his console. "Their fleet still outnumbered us. Their technology is far superior. The retreat doesn't make sense." Nathan sat forward, eyes narrowing. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying," she hesitated, "they're not done. That battle? It was just the first wave." Nathan's jaw clenched. He had suspected as much, but hearing it confirmed felt like a hammer blow. The Zarox were regrouping, and when they returned, they wouldn't make the same mistakes. "I need to talk to Flynn," Nathan muttered, standing up. "We need to prepare." In the heart of Nevada's crumbled defense headquarters, General Marcus Flynn stood surrounded by military advisors, engineers, and scientists. His face was hard, a granite mask of exhaustion and determination. They had rebuilt a makeshift command center in the ruins of what used to be the most secure military installation in the world. Now, it was just another pile of broken concrete and twisted steel. General Flynn, a young officer, ran in, saluting quickly. "Captain Reyes is on the line." Flynn nodded, tapping the console to pull up the video feed. Nathan's face appeared, shadowed by the dim light aboard the Horizon. Captain Flynn greeted him with a curt nod. What's the situation in orbit? We need to talk strategy, General Nathan said without preamble. Zoe's been analyzing the Zarox retreat. It wasn't a retreat at all. They're regrouping. Flynn's lips thinned, but he said nothing for a long moment. He knew this war wasn't over. Earth had survived, yes, but barely. Humanity was on its knees, and the Zarox would be back to finish the job. What's the timeline? Flynn asked, voice tight. Nathan glanced at Zoe, who stepped forward to answer. We estimate weeks, maybe less. We're detecting massive energy surges on the outer edges of our solar system. They're preparing to jump back in force. We need time to rebuild, Flynn growled. Our defense is barely held. We need to rearm and regroup. We won't have that luxury, General Nathan said grimly. We need to hit them before they get here. We can't afford to wait until they land on our doorstep again. Flynn nodded, though the weight of the decision sat heavy on him. I'll mobilize what's left of our fleet. We'll launch a counterattack before they finish preparations. Nathan's voice dropped, heavy with determination. This time, we take the fight to them. Across the world, preparations for humanity's counteroffensive began. In the Pacific, what remained of the United States Navy gathered in the shadows of half-sunken aircraft carriers, retrofitting their ships with alien tech salvaged from the battlefield. In Russia, engineers worked day and night to rebuild the missile silos that had been decimated during the first assault. Factories in Europe churned out new weapons, armor, and drones at an unprecedented pace. In the underground labs of what was left of Paris, Dr. Elias Voss studied fragments of Zarox technology, his fingers tracing the alien runes carved into their war machines. Alongside him, scientists reverse-engineered the Zarox energy shields, hoping to unlock the secrets that had made them seemingly impenetrable. They had already incorporated Zarox plasma weaponry into Earth's defense grid, but Voss knew that wouldn't be enough. We have to figure out how their ships communicate, Voss muttered. If we can disrupt their fleet's coordination, we might stand a chance. Doctor, we found something, one of the junior scientists said, rushing in with a tablet. It's a fragment from one of their command ships. Look at this frequency. They're using a form of quantum encryption, but I think we can break it. Voss's eyes lit up with a mixture of hope and urgency. If we can hijack their command systems. Exactly, the young scientist said. We could cripple their fleet from within. As the days passed, Earth's forces gathered for their final, desperate strike. The Horizon, now armed with a combination of human and Zarox technology, led a fleet of retrofitted battleships, cruisers, and fighters, every functional vessel that Earth had left. Around the globe, what remained of humanity's armies prepared to defend their home in case the fleet failed. The air buzzed with tension and fear, but also with a grim resolve. Nathan stood on the bridge of the Horizon, staring at the screen that displayed the jump coordinates. The Zarox were waiting for them just beyond the orbit of Neptune, their ships clustered together in a massive armada. This wasn't just a battle, it was all or nothing. All ships, prepare for jump, Nathan commanded, his voice steady, despite the gnawing fear in his gut. Across the fleet, engines roared to life as the ships powered up their warp drives. This is it, Zoe whispered beside him. If we fail. Nathan turned to her, his face set with determination. We won't. In a blinding flash of light, the Horizon and the rest of the human fleet vanished from orbit, reappearing on the far side of the solar system. Ahead of them, the Zarox armada loomed, a black storm of warships that blotted out the stars. All units, engage, Nathan shouted. The battle erupted in an instant. Human ships weaved between Zarox cruisers, firing plasma cannons and launching missiles, while alien ships returned fire with terrifying precision. Explosions rippled through the darkness as ships on both sides were torn apart. The Horizon led the charge, its advanced shields absorbing hit after hit as Nathan maneuvered it through the chaos. At the rear of the human fleet, Dr. Voss's team worked frantically, trying to hack into the Zarox command network. Almost there, the young scientist muttered, fingers flying over the keyboard. Now, Voss shouted as the final encryption fell. Across the Zarox fleet, ships began to flicker and drift off course as their command systems were hijacked. Confusion spread among the alien ranks, and for the first time in the war, the Zarox seemed vulnerable. Focus fire on their flagships, Nathan ordered, his heart pounding. The human fleet surged forward, targeting the massive Zarox command ships. Explosions tore through the Zarox flagships, sending debris spinning into the void. The once unbreakable armada was crumbling. "General Flynn, the Zarox are in full retreat," Nathan reported as the alien ships began to fall back. "We did it." On the surface, Flynn stood in the Nevada desert, watching the skies clear of Zarox ships. His chest swelled with pride and relief. "Good work," Captain Flynn said, his voice heavy with emotion. "Earth is safe, for now." But as the last of the Zarox ships disappeared into the depths of space, Nathan couldn't shake the feeling that this victory had come at a cost far greater than anyone could understand. The Zarox would be back, and when they returned, they would come with vengeance. But for now, humanity had won. The aftermath of the battle left a quiet hum throughout the human fleet. The once chaotic swirl of energy, weapon fire, and explosions had dwindled into silence. All that remained of the Zarox armada were the shattered hulks of their ships, floating lifelessly through space. Captain Nathan Reyes stood at the center of the USS Horizon's bridge, staring at the wreckage. His crew, exhausted and battle-worn, slumped in their seats, the adrenaline beginning to wear off. "Status report," Nathan called, though he already knew the answer. "All Zarox ships are retreating beyond the outer system," Zoe replied, her voice shaky but relieved. "We've won." A small murmur of cheers and applause rippled through the bridge, but it was subdued, tinged with exhaustion and disbelief. Nathan knew they had dealt the Zarox a heavy blow, but this war was far from over. The retreating ships had been broken, but not destroyed. They would rebuild. So would humanity, but the next encounter wouldn't be a fight for survival. It would be a war of annihilation. "Open a channel to General Flynn," Nathan ordered. The screen flickered to life, revealing Flynn standing amidst the smoldering ruins of Nevada. The general's face, scarred and weathered by years of conflict, cracked into a small, weary smile. "You did it," Captain Flynn said, his voice low. "You brought us a chance. Earth owes you." Nathan shook his head. "It wasn't just me. It was all of us." Flynn nodded, and his smile faded. "I know. But this isn't over. We won the battle, but the Zarox will be back, and next time, they won't underestimate us." Nathan knew Flynn was right. The Zarox had thought Earth was easy prey, an isolated world ripe for conquest. They hadn't anticipated humanity's resilience, their unyielding will to survive. But next time they would come prepared, and humanity would face an even deadlier onslaught. "What's our next move?" Nathan asked, his voice steady despite the weight of the future pressing down on him. "We rebuild. We prepare," Flynn replied, his eyes hardening. "We'll use every resource we've got, every scrap of tech we salvaged from their ships, every piece of intelligence. We'll turn Earth into a fortress. And next time the Zarox come, they won't find a broken world. They'll find a wall they can't break." Nathan nodded. "And the fleet? We're barely holding together." "You'll need to lead it," Flynn said, his gaze locking with Nathan's. "We need a leader out there, someone who knows how to face them. The fight won't just be here on Earth. We'll need to take the war to them if we want any hope of ending this." The responsibility weighed heavily on Nathan's shoulders, but he accepted it without hesitation. This was the burden of command, and he had been preparing for this his entire life. "We'll be ready," General Nathan said, "but we'll need more than just weapons. We'll need alliances. The Zarox, our galactic empire, will need the rest of the galaxy on our side." Flynn nodded slowly. "You're right. We've stayed out of the galactic stage for too long. But now, it's time humanity took its place among the stars." Over the next several weeks, the world began to recover. Reconstruction efforts spread across the globe as cities rose from the rubble and infrastructure was rebuilt with the help of Zarox technology. For the first time in decades, humanity came together not as nations divided by borders, but as a unified people facing a common enemy. In underground research labs, scientists worked tirelessly to reverse engineer the advanced tech left behind by the Zarox. Dr. Elias Vall led the charge, his team uncovering breakthroughs in energy, weaponry, and faster-than-light communication. Every discovery brought humanity one step closer to being ready for the next encounter. In orbit, Nathan Reyes and the fleet were refitted with new ships, new weapons. The USS Horizon now bristled with alien technology, a hybrid of human ingenuity and Zarox power. But Nathan knew it wouldn't be enough. They needed more than just a fleet, they needed allies. The council chambers of the Galactic Union were abuzz with tension as Nathan stood before them. The chamber, filled with the representatives of countless alien species, buzzed with conversation, their eyes and sensory appendages focused on the human captain. Humanity's entrance into the galactic stage had come violently, and not everyone was eager to welcome them. Nathan's gaze swept the room. He knew what they thought humans were: a young, reckless species, but they didn't know the full extent of what was coming. Esteemed members of the Galactic Council, Nathan began, his voice carrying through the grand hall. I stand before you today not just as a representative of Earth, but as a soldier of the galaxy. The Zarox Empire is a threat to us all. They don't just want Earth, they want every world. We faced them and survived, but the next time they come, they will come for all of us. A murmur spread through the chamber, the representatives exchanging nervous glances. The council president, an ancient being of the Six race, leaned forward, his translucent skin shimmering in the light. Captain Reyes, the president said, his voice smooth and measured, what proof do you have that the Zarox intend to expand beyond your world? Nathan didn't flinch. We intercepted their communications. They see Earth as the first step, a test of our strength. They've done this before, to countless other worlds. You all know this. The murmuring intensified. Some of the species present had experienced the Zarox's wrath firsthand. Others remained skeptical, unwilling to get involved in a war that didn't directly affect them. You've all seen what they're capable of, Nathan pressed. If we stand together, we have a chance to stop them. But if we fight alone, none of us will survive. The council fell into silence, the weight of Nathan's words hanging in the air. Finally, a representative from the Bryan Empire stood. His scarred face spoke of many battles, and his voice was rough with age and wisdom. He's right, the Bryan said. We've been too content, too divided. We watched as they took our outer worlds. But this time we fight. Slowly, others began to rise, adding their voices to the call to arms. The tide had turned. Humanity had not just survived, they had sparked a flame that would unite the galaxy. Months passed, and the Galactic Alliance grew stronger. Fleets from a dozen worlds gathered in Earth's orbit, ready for the inevitable return of the Zarox. Weapons were forged, strategies crafted, and old rivalries set aside in the face of the common enemy. Nathan Reyes, now Admiral of the Combined Fleet, stood on the bridge of the USS Horizon, gazing at the vast armada assembled before him. Ships from across the galaxy floated alongside Earth's warships, their combined power forming a bulwark against the coming storm. This is it, Nathan said quietly, his hands gripping the console. When they come back, we'll be ready. Zoe stood beside him, her expression a mix of pride and determination. It's strange, isn't it? How this all started with us just trying to survive. And now, we fight for the galaxy, Nathan finished. A distant blip appeared on the radar, a ripple in space, followed by hundreds more. Nathan's heart raced as the Zarox fleet emerged from the void, larger and more fearsome than ever before. All ships, prepare for combat, Nathan's voice boomed across the comms. But this time, humanity wasn't alone. The fleets of a dozen worlds surged forward, weapons blazing. The Zarox had come for their final conquest, but they would find a galaxy united against them. The battle that followed would be the stuff of legends, an epic clash between the forces of domination and the free peoples of the galaxy. And at the heart of it, humanity stood tall, no longer just survivors, but defenders of a future that belonged to them all. In the end, the Zarox were defeated, their empire broken. The galaxy had bled, but it had also triumphed, and for the first time in millennia, peace settled across the stars, fragile but real. As Nathan Reyes stood on the bridge, looking out at the stars, he knew that they had earned their place among them. Humanity had been tested, and they had emerged stronger than anyone had imagined. We did it, Zoe whispered beside him, her voice full of awe. Nathan nodded, his gaze steady. Yeah, we did. And as the galaxy turned towards a future shaped by unity and resilience, the stars above Terra shone brighter than ever before.